Two words: entrepreneurship.
Hey, what's up guys? Jay Martin here. One of the few questions I had in mind when I was starting my first online business was this overwhelm. Whether I should go broad in general or niche down and be very specific on who my target audience is supposed to be. Because when you start out, everyone thinks their product or service is for everybody, right? Any age, any gender, anywhere, making any type of income. So this leads to my first point, and it's that your ideal customer isn't everybody. And this advice is strictly for customer acquisition. It's advice in terms of who's buying your stuff. So when you advertise your products or services, you can't penetrate every single demographic and grab them emotionally to buy into your business, right? However, there is a caveat. If you haven't made a single sale yet, you absolutely have to try and go wide and see how that works, because you can't fully optimize from the beginning. You have to see what works first, doubling down on the strategies that produce results and killing the ones that doesn't. The one distinguishing thing about everyone getting into the entrepreneurial world is you, okay? It's your life. There's only one of you with your personality, your thought, your look, your struggle, your circumstances, your achievements, your failures. There's only one of those, and that's interesting to people. And the way to win competition is if you escape it. So if you're listening to this so far and you're wondering what qualifications I have, the honest answer here is not much, okay? Aside from running a bunch of e-commerce stores, I don't run a Fortune 500 company. You're not going to find me in the Forbes list of anything. I'm not yet at a level of success that I wish to be. But I will tell you, which leads to my point, is that people will want to root for other human beings. And at the end of the day, only quote unquote the most authentic people will win the game. And this isn't only business advice, it's intertwined with life advice. You're not going to get there by faking it till you make it. It's not going to be people who show off the most bling bling or champagne bottles and freaking models. It's people who's real. And as Gary Vaynerchuk says,
document versus create.
when you're running ads or creating content, the more you begin to document your journey as opposed to just creating the content, I think you'll begin to build a following. And so what most people try to do is create content with a narrative that they're the expert with all of the knowledge, trying to be all suave and cool and super professional, which is fine depending on what you're trying to go for. We see all these multimillionaires and their private jets and nice cars these days that are pushed on social media, but who even knows if they're rented though, right? But that's cool. We all stop and stare and admire. But you'd be surprised about how interesting you are yourself if you were to document the process of. There's all types of content creators documenting their journey of, hey, these are my struggles right now. These are the things I'm going to share with you that I'm going to do to fix these problems I'm currently facing. And this is the action I'm going to take. I'll update you in a month and tell you how it goes. And you see what that builds for a personal brand. It's more real. It makes people more interested and invested. Like, I would want to know what happens. I would genuinely want to see updates in his or her journey. It creates more lifetime value for your personal brand versus having a transactional relationship with your audience, being conversion based. And we can all sense when a personal brand just wants to sell us a course. You know, people feel that. So it's being real. It's creating value and being you. There's no normal. There's only you. You're the product. Your niche is being a human. You might be vegan, fitness, animal lover, vintage car enthusiast, deep sea water scuba diver, whatever, right? And you can still find a way to build an audience being all those things. Human beings are curious about others, and it's just very much human nature. If you're passionate about something, it almost doesn't even matter if I'm interested at that thing or if people are interested at that thing. We love seeing someone else taking their passion and turning it into a form of art. It's real. We appreciate that. So be you. Being a hopelessly average person could be your weapon, Why do you think some of these so-called talentless celebrities even become celebrities in the first place? It's because they're relatable. Enough of that talk. Now, let's bring up Gary Vaynerchuk, for example. He's productized himself, right? He's put himself in a situation where if he's gone, there's no one that could replace him. He goes to garage sales, buys things for $1, sells them for $2 to prove anyone can start hustling. He's a keynote speaker, a motivational speaker, author, investor. He's so many different things. No one can replace Joe Rogan. If Joe Rogan decides to go off the face of the earth, we can't just call another UFC commentator with one of the most famous podcasts, super athletic buff guy that can probably beat your ass with his MMA skills, who does archery, open about his use of psychedelics, does hot yoga, a family man. Pretty evident that I'm a fan here, but you get my point. So it's not teaching for being an expert for the most part. It's teaching based on personal experience and passion. You have one life. You don't necessarily want to struggle at only one thing and just do that. You want to do all the things you're passionate about to the best of your capabilities. We glorify strategy and highly underestimate execution. We are always at this state of analysis paralysis, right? I came up with my first business plan at 17 and started at 19. 2 years later, it ended up being a success. It doesn't matter whether or not you're older or younger, but you can imagine the guilt I had realizing I should have started sooner. So my last piece of advice in this video is to leave emotions at the door. The only thing that should motivate you is to look around in your current life right now, and if you want a little bit more, that's your motivation. So go get after it. It's completely fine not to dream big. It's fine not to be a founder or a CEO. There is no moral judgment on having a standard 9 to 5 and living a perfectly balanced life. The only thing you should ask yourself is, what do you want? Who do you want to become? And what sacrifices are you willing to pay to get there? Because your dream requires a mental switch, not a tactic. There's no 6-minute ab routine to get you from average to rock solid abs. It's a lifestyle switch. It's a mental switch. There's no quick tactic. The moment you start looking to get rich quick or look for shortcuts, that's when I know you're fragile and you don't have the stomach for the adversity and the mental fortitude involved in entrepreneurship. Because that's just the truth. If you aren't stoic by default, if you can't handle pressure, if you can't handle a lot of problems, both with people and in the business itself. But back to shortcuts. Although some people get lucky, getting where you want to be fast is generally not a good thing. And if someone does get something fast by luck or what have you, it typically doesn't end well. Because think when people win the lotto, they get what they want, but they don't cultivate the character. So therefore, the outcome isn't pretty. So it's not what we get, it's who we become. And this is just worth mentioning as well. If you're someone in the family who is trying to break the chain, trust me, your family will see you as strange. Most likely, your parents won't support you because they'll be too overprotective for you and they just want the safer route for you. And that notion is amazing. You have to be empathetic towards that. And I'm sure their intentions are from a great place. It shows that they care, but they just won't believe in your dreams. Some of your so-called friends won't really like that because they aren't getting anything out of it and they just don't see it in themselves. Looking at you makes them question their own life, and when they compare themselves to you, it just reminds them of how much of a loser they are, and they'll be envious once you succeed. Chances are you will encounter something like this in your own personal life. If you don't sacrifice for your goals, then the goals become the sacrifice. Remember that. And you should really quiet the outside noise. Other people's opinion shouldn't move you. It shouldn't dictate your behavior. Outwork everybody so substantially that people stop debating if they're even in the same solar system as you. Peace and love.
Turn it off.
You know how banks hate on Bitcoin, right? And taxis hate on Uber. What else? Hotels hate on Airbnb. And theaters, they hate on Netflix. So chances are, if someone doesn't like you, they're afraid of your potential. Keep that in mind. Love you guys.